Hi, welcome back to Ariel's X's. My name is Ariel and this is a video about cross stitch. So the elephant in the room is probably that my hair is completely different. I routinely dye my hair. My boss jokes that every time she sees me she never knows what she's gonna get because I can't keep my hair one color long enough. And this time I decided to go back purple. I'm really liking it. I just did it yesterday, so we'll see how long I like it. But in the end of the day, it's hair. And if I decide to do something different in a couple weeks, it'll survive. So let's jump right into it with my one finish. So my one finish is another Stitch by Dre piece. It's another Prue, and this one's called Screaming. And the quote on it is, "I don't know who needs to hear this, but prolonged, uncontrollable screaming." I really love these Prue pieces. I think I'm gonna stitch one up every month so that I don't get discouraged because most of my projects are pretty large, so that I'm at least getting one finish a month. This is on a piece of Monaco that I got from Stash to Unload. Oh, ignore the back. It's not pretty. And this is the piece of Monaco that was my first venture outside of Ada, and I'm really loving it. And I think that's what I'm going to put most of my Prues on. So we will transfer over to whips. And my first whip was this month's release on the Dark Queen of the Sea Style by Autumn Lane Stitchery. This is on a piece of Bewitched by Undersea Fabrics. I think it's Under the Sea Fabrics. It's Leslie. She's amazing at dyeing fabric. It's the called for fabric with the sow. And I did the étoile conversion and used the treasure braid for the magic option instead of the skull option. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I have no idea if you can see that shining or not. As a new stitcher, this was my first time using treasure braid. And luckily, memory had explained to me, you use one strand, you probably don't want it longer than your forearm, that it tends to get very kinked up. And I survived, but it feels so different coming through the fabric. And I think for small sections of things, I'm gonna love it and I'm gonna do it because it gives that desired effect. But if it comes to doing large sections, I'm probably not gonna use it very often because it's not sensory. The sensory feeling of it coming through the fabric was not something that I enjoyed whatsoever. But it turned out gorgeous, and I'm loving this pattern. Autumn Lane Stitchery is genius, and I cannot wait until this month's release. Well, next month's release, because we're not into March yet. So my next whip is my Nina Olson embroidery big Star Wars piece. When we met last time, I had done the top of Chewie's head, the top of the Stormtrooper, and I was working on Boba Fett. And I made myself a promise that I can't film my next video each month until I finish a section. So, we now have good old Boba Fett's head over here. It's looking great. I've scooted my frame over. I will say with these full coverage pieces, it's a little disheartening to do so much. This is 9,000 plus stitches. And to see that percentage on my pattern keeper just say 12%. But it's coming. For a beginner stitcher, I don't think this is that bad. This is just on a piece of black Ada from Michaels. Maybe Hobby Lobby. From Hobby Lobby. This is a piece of black Ada from Hobby Lobby. So next month, I will be getting the top of Darth Maul's section in. And I think I'll have the very top of his hood, but this looks like it's going to be less confetti, so I'm hoping that I'll get through this section rather quickly. My last whip that you guys have seen before is my Harry Potter Stitch Along by Stuart over at Cunning Cross Stitch. I have successfully finished my extracurricular chapter. I got runes when I followed things along. I will say I'm not 100% happy with the way the back stitching turned out. I ran out of space, had to adapt what I did. These things were too close. My fault, beginner stitcher, drop-in elements hard. I underestimated the difficulty. I'm going to look at this as a learning piece and keep trucking along. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the time that I put into it. This is going to be set along to the side for a bit because I'm really having a hard time recently as a member of the LBGT community, really reconciling the comments that JK made about our trans brother and sisters. And while I know this does not benefit her money-wise in any way, shape, or form, and though I love the Harry Potter universe so much, and it's a big part of my childhood and has a lot of emotional value to me, I'm just not loving stitching this right now. My heart's not in it like it was when I originally started. So I'm going to put this away for a couple months, give myself a palette cleanse, and then probably come back during Mania and start the next chapter. Now on to new starts. So my first new start is a very nerdy piece by Happy Sloth Patterns. It's called Guess I'll Die, and sorry for the glare. Let me take it out of my sheet protector, if that helps. This is a D&D or tabletop role play reference. We have our D20 where we've had a crit fail and the snarky comment, Guess I'll Die. My husband was getting impatient waiting on his Star Wars piece, which is 22 pages of full coverage, so he can just suck it up. So I found another small piece that I thought he would enjoy, as we're both big into D&D and tabletop roleplay, and this is what I have so far. I've worked on this maybe 3 days. This is the same Monaco that my Prue pieces are on, and I'm really happy with the way it's coming out. I love how small the holes are. I like having quicker stitches to do every once in a while because when all I'm working on is bigger projects, it gets very disheartening to feel like I'm working so long and I have nothing to show for it. So I'm trying to do better about mixing up small whips with big whips so that I feel I'm hitting that finish line somewhere. And now my last whip is my Halloween Rules by Lizzie Kate. I put my big girl panties on and cut my fabric, which I did not have a rolling cutter yet. As you can see, this is jagged as everything. But this is a piece of 18 Count Ada by Fabrics by Stephanie, and it is Autumn Splendor. So in the past month, I've managed to finish the top of my frame. I have one rule down, and I'm working on the second rule. This is my first time using fancy floss with any sort of variegation. Before this, I've been all DMC, except for one test stitch I did for Amy in Memory. And I'm happy with it. I loop start, and I know that can affect the variegation some, but so far, it seems okay. My favorite part is this moon. I love how my variegation turned out, that there's like a lighter crescent and a darker gibbous in this same area. So I'm excited to keep working on this one and see where I end up. Okay, now haul. As I said last time, I have a problem. I buy more than I could ever possibly stitch. And I think some of that is just being a new stitcher where I see so many things and I'm finding what I like as a stitcher. But I've currently been on a buying hold because the first week of March I will be going to visit Amy in Memory. And I'm hoping that with some sweet talking, I can convince them to take me to Fire Poppies. And that would be a pretty big spending spree for me. So I have saved back my money in preparation. Oh, I forgot to say, I took this out to start it, and I thought I kitted up the entire thing when I bought the patterns at Christmas, only to pull everything out and realize that I was missing this black, and I was missing part of the pumpkin, and what was going to be this. So I was missing Red Rocks, Blackbird, and copper, a certain type of something copper. And I had already put in that order to my local needle workshop. And I was looking online. 123 Stitch didn't have it. And I thought, Fire Poppies, let me check. And they had it, and they saved the day. I ordered it on a Saturday night, and I had that floss by Wednesday. And I am so impressed by not only how quick they shipped that out, but the fact that everyone else had it back ordered, and I was able to get it. Lo and behold, a week later, my original back order came in, so I have plenty of extra. But Fire Poppy saved the day for me, so I'm really looking forward to going there in person, hopefully this trip. If not, I'll go next trip in May. So, on to haul. The one thing that I bought this month was my treasure box by Barefoot Needleworks, or Barefoot Needle Arts. Sorry, Amy. Barefoot Needle Arts, and they have started doing a seasonal box. So I ordered the spring box, and what came in there was, of course, a bunch of paper confetti, which has been put away because I have a 1.5-year-old who would eat it and throw it everywhere. I got tea, I got some seeds, and then an entire kitted pattern called Spring is in the Air. They sent this out with all the flosses that go with it, a needle to use, and a little charm to put on it if you finish it the way they recommend. And then this cute little ort catcher. I have never had an ort catcher until this. I drink soda. I have a soda problem, and I usually just leave an empty soda bottle on my nightstand because I stitch in bed. We have a Tempur-Pedic bed that leans up, and that's where all my orts go. But I have this cute little ort catcher that I will take on trips, and I plan on taking it down with me on my trip. So we'll look at that one more time. Spring is in the air. Let me take her out of the plastic so that you can see her a little bit better. My next purchase was I ordered needle minders from Autumn Lane Stitchery. And these are part of Cassie's needle minders. And these are the needle minders that go with the Dark Queen stitch along. Let me say, these magnets are strong, and that's just what I need. My next pattern was Raccoon Ravel by Plum Street Samplers. I have a thing for raccoons. Where penguins and owls are tied for my favorite, raccoons are in a close second. Growing up, my grandfather down in Louisiana used to be an avid hunter, but when he stopped hunting, he began feeding all the wild animals in his area, which I know you're not supposed to do. But he had raccoons that just hung out at the house, and we used to feed them vanilla wafers and things. If you went out on any given night and shined the light in the trees, they would just light up with their eyeballs. So one of the big memories I have from growing up, and the love for raccoons stuck. I have a new Nora Corbett, and this one is Jasmine. It's from her Pixie series. When I'm going to stitch this, I have no idea. I think I'm going to plan for Mania to start one of these Nora Corbett's. Then I have a Barbara Anna design. It's the branch Come With Me All Hallows Eve. I'm slowly collecting the branches and her keys because I think they're so beautiful. And then I have Winter Wonderland Farm, which is one of the Chalk on the Farm series from Hands On Designs. I want to slowly collect all these when I can. And then I have Let It Snow Bungalow, which is one of the chalks for the homes. And I think I will stitch this on Black Ada. I have figured out a good, well, black Monaco maybe a black even weave, but I will probably stitch it on actual black. I figured out a good system for this full coverage piece where I wanted to gouge my eyes out in the beginning, it's quite manageable. And then I have Edgar Allan Poe by the Primitive Hare. One of my degrees is in literature, so I have a soft spot for Edgar Allan Poe specifically and Shakespeare. They are my two favorite. I have a tattoo dedicated to each of them. So when I saw this one, I could not resist. Okay. Then I collected some project bags. And while we're doing these project bags, I might as well talk about some of my upcoming projects because they're in them. So this first project bag is by Little Boat 88, and she sends a needle minder that matches, which these, I haven't used it yet, but these feel like pretty good magnets. I got the Beauty and the Beast bag, which is absolutely gorgeous. I love how sturdy this is, and as you can see, there's the clear plastic here so where you can see what's inside. And what's inside here that I have set up with a piece of Ada that I coffee tea dyed myself. That was another exciting thing that happened this month. I ventured out into the dyeing fabric by yourself. It's okay. It's darker than I had originally planned, but when you're trying to do tea dye around two kids, sometimes things end up sitting longer. And what's going to go on here is this year's temperature typography by Stitch and Mama. Let me take it out of here. I don't know why I just attempted to leave it in there because I know it's going to glare like nobody's business. So this year's Stitching Mama temperature typology release is where we actually are doing all of the months and the color variegation related to them reflects the temperature. I did her temperature tree last year and I loved it, so I decided that I'm gonna do this one this year. And then my second bag that I ordered from Little Boat 88 doesn't have a project in it, but it is this gorgeous flower bag with the unicorn print inside, and then the little needle minder matches this. And once again, these are pretty sturdy bags. I really enjoy them and cannot wait to use them. My last two project bags come from Barefoot Needle Arts. I saw them and thought they were perfect, and I actually have one waiting for me when I go visit Amy and Memory that they made and sent me because Memory knows that the pattern would be right up my alley. So first one is this bee bag with this beautiful inside. Theirs are not zipped, theirs are Velcro. And Bees by the Little Stitcher. I am going to stitch this on a piece of hand-dyed Monaco that I did, tea dyed. And here's my colors. I think it's gonna look really good on here with this floss toss that I did. I am actually going to stitch this for my mother-in-law. So my husband's family has a tradition of calling their grandmothers honey. And one of his grandmothers actually had bees a long time ago. So I decided that for her birthday in May, and a combined Mother's Day gift, I was going to stitch her that pattern by the Little Stitcher. And what better bag to put my honey's pattern in than the bee bag. Okay, and then my last bag that I have is this beautiful butterfly bag. And then the inside is all this shimmery stuff. And in this one, I can't show you the pattern because I made myself a working copy, but it's gonna go on this piece of red even weave done in the called for white, and I'm gonna have to do a conversion as to what I'm gonna do the darker lines in because the pattern is supposed to blend in as if those lines of backstitch blended in. And the pattern is Lovebirds by Autumn Lane Stitchery, and it was in Cross Stitch magazine. Cross Stitch magazine? Just Cross Stitch. It was in the February 2021 Just Cross Stitch. And I am so excited to stitch it. I think it's going to look really good on this piece. So I have not started it yet. So hopefully all of these things will be started by next time. Thanks for joining me for this new video, and hopefully you'll come back when I see you next month. Bye.